If you've been betting for a while and still feel stuck, there's a reason. Most bettors focus on the wrong thing. They obsess over picks, study matchups for hours, and still lose money. I did the same thing for months until I made a few simple shifts that completely changed everything. My picks didn't get better, but my profits did. So stick around. I'm breaking down the exact shifts that turned everything around. But first, I'm curious. Have you ever watched a UFC match before and instantly knew in your gut which one was going to win? Your guy's just built differently, right? Surely his opponent's not going to stand a chance. Yeah, a lot of beginner bettors think like that too. But I'll tell you right now, picking winners is the worst strategy you can have in sports betting. Instead, you have to focus on timing. So let me paint you a picture. Imagine a new steakhouse opening in your city, but not just any steakhouse. This place is rumored to have the best tomahawk in the entire state. Word gets out fast. Food bloggers show up. TikTok reviewers take the first reservations. Hardcore foodies are lining up before the doors even open. And by the time you casually swing by after work thinking, I'll just grab a table, the host just looks at you and shakes his head. Yeah, that's what it's like betting late based on your ball knowledge. The market's been open for days, and the pros have already taken the value bets. So you have two options. Either be early and grab the good stuff, or wait until some poor vendor misprices what's left and pounce before they notice. Now, if you're smart, you may still have a third option. And that's to build your own strategy that finds the edges like this. And it's not just me. One of my community members shared his October results. So if you want the same outcome too, you're more than welcome to join our private community. I'll share the link in the description below. Or you can scan here if you're watching on TV. Okay, now how do you find good value bets? After all, that's what you're here for, right? Well, I like to put it this way. You and your friend are at an arcade shooting mini basketballs, and you make a bet. Every time you make a shot, he gives you 10 tickets. Every time you miss, you give him 3 tickets. See where I'm going with this? It's pretty obvious that whether you win or you lose, you're still coming out the champ, because the system is rigged in your favor. That's what a positive expected value bet is. It's not about predicting outcomes. It's about finding prices that tilt the math slightly in your favor. So in sports betting, the question isn't who's gonna win, it's is this price wrong? But here's the thing, sportsbooks know the game inside and out. Meaning, you'll always be a step behind if you try to compete head to head. So the smarter move is this, find your edge in niche markets. You know, sports that get overlooked, kind of like Polish women's volleyball or Indian table tennis. You never know. These can be gold mines. But of course, you don't need to go that extreme. But the idea is simple. Focus on areas the books and sharps ignore. Because less competition means more opportunities to profit. Now, I know where your head's going. That sounds good, Luke. But doesn't it take forever to sift through all the books? And you'd be correct. That's why I don't scan books manually. I rely on OddsJam to automate the process, so I can sit back and watch the magic unfold. OddsJam scans 40 plus sports books at once, so when one sportsbook posts a bad price, you see it instantly. Just take a look at this example. Baylor versus SMU, first quarter team total, SMU over 7.5. Midnight Sportsbook is offering it at plus 175. Meanwhile, most other books are sitting between plus 120 and plus 153, with the market average around plus 153. So why does that matter? Because at plus 175, Midnight is basically saying there's only a 36.4% chance of this hitting. But the true market projection, based on all the other books, is around 40.5%. That gap creates an 11.47% positive expected value. That's one of the reasons why I love OddsJam so much. It helps you find bets where the sportsbook is accidentally giving you better odds than reality suggests. And when you stack these kinds of plays day after day, you tilt the edge away from the book and back toward yourself. So if you want to try out this tool for yourself, I put a link in the description. Or if you're watching on the big screen, here's a QR code you can scan. But full disclosure, you can't rely on OddsJam 100% of the time. Because I first started betting, I thought I had it all figured out. I was using OddsJam, finding positive EV bets left and right. And for a while, I thought I was crushing it. But then I started tracking my bets. And that's when I realized some of my so-called great bets weren't actually beating the closing line. Turns out, just because something's labeled positive EV doesn't mean it'll stay that way. Of course, there are a bunch of reasons why that happens. Maybe the odds shift because of sharp action, or the game is too obscure for the data to be reliable. And sometimes, if only 2 books are covering a market, the value you see might not even be real. That's why the real edge comes from tracking your own results. Whether you're using a simple spreadsheet or letting OddsJam's auto tracker do it, The goal is to compare the odds you got with the final market close. If you're consistently beating that closing number, say 60 to 70% of the time, that's your sign you're betting sharp. And while you're at it, try to look for trends. You might find that certain markets, like long-shot player props or niche leagues, drag your numbers down. Once you see that, you can fine-tune your filters on OddsJam and cut the fat. Fair warning though, you might get too excited with this newfound strategy. And before you know it, you're firing hundreds of bets every month. But trust me, no matter how good your system is, how fine-tuned your OddsJam filters are, you're gonna hit a cold stretch. And when that happens, you might crack and do all the things you shouldn't do. So listen up, because I've figured out a safety switch that can protect you from that. And it's so simple. Normally you only adjust your unit size once a week, right? But if your bankroll suddenly drops 20% midweek, like going from $10,000 to $8,000, sticking to the same unit size is asking for trouble, even if it's just 1%. So you stop, recalculate, and set your new 1% based on your updated bankroll. Meaning, instead of betting $100, bet $80 instead. Yeah, I get it. It's a pretty minor change. But this will give you some room to breathe, keep the panic away, and basically protect you from letting an ugly month wipe out half your bankroll. Now let's say you're starting on a clean slate, no betting background, no high baller bankroll just yet. How would you do it? Well, I was curious to find out the answer to that myself, so I decided to run a 7-day challenge on OddsJam, and I documented the entire process. If you want to watch that next, click right here.